and it's presented to us in this saccharine fucking way. And actually, it's a film littered with absolute dickheads. And to be fair, it destroyed my faith in humanity at certain points. Because basically what Love Actually says to me is, yeah, there's sometimes some funny bits when you come across a bit of a weird character, but the rest of the time, the normal legitimate people in this world are fucking arseholes who'll try and fuck your wife and cheat on the missuses. It's bullshit. And there's your Tom rant. You've done it. Look at that. Fucking up top, mate. It only took me 4 fucking beers. And who'd have thought he'd come out on Love? Who'd have thought he'd come out of Love Actually?
Oh, Pete Jackson's come back. I must have...
Return of the Jack.
Yeah, we have had Pete. Have we had Pete already? We have. I must have not. When I put these in, he must have come in later and me not put them back.
I don't mind 2 portions of Peter Jackson.
There you go.
No, absolutely. What does he have to say for us?
He asks, who is the highest point scoring player of all time and which player has the highest game to point scored? So well,
that's for you. This is one for you.
I don't know the highest.
I feel like I've run out of steam now after Love Actually.
I don't know the best points per game ratio, to be honest. I'd have had to have worked it out myself. I didn't find the list that kept it. But the highest point scorer is Neil Fox, isn't it? Wakefield legend. So there you go.
There you go. And he asks another one. He says, do you have any matchday traditions or superstitions that you have to do every time?
Not really.
Walk away disappointed.
Sorry, that's
it's not something I choose to do, but it tends to sort of happen.
Boring answer, but not really. Sorry.
No.
I mean, we have the car ride usually with my uncle Liam and my brother and all that, and that's just how we get there. But I suppose the usual way is Liam sort of gives nothing away. He's like, well, do you think we're going to win? Well, we'll find out in about 2 hours, won't we? And I'm like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
He puts up a wall.
He does.
And then I break it down.
Let us in, Liam. Let us in. Let's see the underbelly.
And I'm always like a bit more excited, and I want to talk about the week in rugby league with him and all that sort of stuff. And he's like, ooh, Mardy and that. So maybe that's a tradition of sort of created. And then when we go on Yorkshire trips, it's often just me and him, and the tradition tends to be me asking him weird questions about his hobbies or his work or something, because whilst he's my uncle and I've known him my entire life and I love him to pieces,
he's
and we have
an
a lot
enigma though,
common.
isn't he?
He has his main hobbies and ways he carries his life are quite different to me. He really enjoys fishing, and he is a farmer, and I work in an office and really enjoy...
Does he still Crown Green Bowl?
Yeah, he does that too, yeah. So you know, I ask him stuff about the stuff he does.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
And I have no tradition.
And he can talk to me the whole way home about tying a fly. Stuff like that. So, you know.
There you go. Absolutely. Okay, we're getting towards the end. Lee Whitnell got in touch, Mark. What did he have to say?
He says, have you ever played rugby league yourselves? And if so, what were your positions? If not, what positions would you see yourselves playing? I'm thinking Thomas a prop and Marcus a scrum half, based on nothing more than the sounds of your voices, and possibly that Tom mentioned that Mark looked like Luke Gale.
Yeah, you don't look like Luke Gale anymore. You start to look more like Phil Bentham, mate. Yeah, that's about right.
You're so mean about my appearance. You look old. You're balding, you're so horrible to me.
Have you not had a male friend before? If I'm being nice to you, it's because I'm keeping you at a distance, and if we're giving each other shit,
this is different.
It's because you're a dear friend.
It's my fault. You're supposed to boost me up when I feel sad.
You know, you're married to a woman who's meant to do that, mate. I'm going to kick you while you're down. If you're not... This is what... Don't come at me with that.
I've always been nice to you.
You've been nothing but lovely to me. And in turn... Oh my God, lift your head up. Seriously, I can't cover looking at you.
It's not that bad.
You can really see it.
You can see a bit of scalp.
All right, Shearer, settle down. Yeah. Okay. Yes, I've played more rugby than you, although primarily once we left Bradford, it was uni when I got back into playing again, and then I had an ill-fated turnout for the Blackpool Scorpions, so we get sent off in I think my first or second game for them. So that was kind of the end of that, really. But playing at high school, playing at middle school in Bradford, positions weren't really sort of strictly adhered to, but I was nominally a prop or a second rower in terms of where I stood. But that was about it. And then when I turned out for the Scorpions, I was at prop again.
Yeah, we've talked about this before, haven't we? But basically, my schools didn't play rugby league. There was no rugby league amateur teams in my town growing up, and I was more of a football kid. And plus, my stature doesn't exactly lend itself well to getting involved in the sport at the age when I got particularly interested in the sport. By that point, I was kind of behind the 8 ball there, the spindly thing that I was.
Wiry.
my experience, as I've said before, is just playing a little bit of throw and pass, really, with my cousin and my brother on Lytham Green, really.
There you go.
So that's about as far as it goes, I'm afraid.
That's it. Okay. And the final Ask SLP question goes to the Wakey White. He says, Merry Christmas, guys. Merry Christmas to you, Wakey. He says, Ask SLP, Yorkshire puddings with Christmas dinner. Gotta be, surely. It's not a question. You have Yorkshire puddings at every opportunity, particularly Christmas dinner. Definitely.
In my family, we've always had Yorkshire puddings with pretty much whatever roast. In fact, no, any roast dinner.
Yeah.
Ever since my dad and Angie got together, Angie showed my dad how to make really good Yorkshire puddings, and then she neglected to remember how to make them herself, but my dad makes them.
She's passed on the knowledge.
But my dad makes them. But at Christmas, traditionally, we don't have them, because you have loads of other extra things anyway.
Oh, I see, yeah. Okay.
But also, because usually at my dad's house we have 2 sit-ins of 8 people per sit-in sort of thing. It's usually quite a big deal.
Wow.
So to make all the Yorkshire puddings, to time it all right with all the other stuff going on would be a bit too hectic. This year, actually, it was a bit of a pared-down affair. Due to a couple of things, my brother wanted to spend Christmas Day at home with his little kid on his first Christmas and that sort of stuff, and not getting in the way of the baby sleep and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
My grandma has had a couple of health issues, so she had an operation and she's still coming out of the recovery phase of that, so didn't want a big hassle-filled full Christmas Day, so had a smaller one at home. So it left us with a smaller Christmas dinner, and when that happened, I thought Yorkshire puddings were going to happen.
Right, and were you left disappointed?
Yeah, because my dad said he did think about it because there was less of us, but then didn't do it.
Right.
So there you go.
He thought about it, fuck it.
Yeah.
It's a lot of hassle.
So I'd have them if they were, but I don't like pre-bought ones.
They're a travesty.
Emma's just got into making them at home.
Right.
So it's a developing thing in our house.
How's she getting on?
All right, yeah.
She's doing all right with it. Good stuff. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is.
Speaking of Yorkshire,
go on. Yeah.
I've been doing a bit of family history research during the.
That's
there's always sort of.
So funny you should say that. Go on.
It's always been a little bit of a question for me, hasn't it? Like when the linguists came from Yorkshire to Lancashire and how that sort of happened, and everyone sort of had a different story of which person. Like my dad was convinced it was his granddad was the first.
Illingworth over.
Was the first one to move over. So my granddad, his dad, was the first Lancashire born in the Illingworths, but that's not the case. It was my great grandfather, my dad's grandfather, who was born in Lytham.
Right.
His dad was the first one, and I haven't found out yet why he moved, but he was living in Wortley in Leeds.
Right.
But before that, almost my entire family from my granddad's side spent the entire 19th century, the 1800s, in a village or a collection of villages close to each other in sort of north-east Bradford, Idle and Windhill.
My dad and mum's first house was in Idle.
Was it?
Yeah, my mum's first house was in Idle, and then like on the opposite side of the valley you've got like Baildon, which is where where we lived. Yeah. It's a nice little corridor of the world. Then you've got guys go up the top, and you can
and then like some of them. Before all the mills, all the cotton mills were built, and all the wool mills actually, wasn't it? There, sorry, all the wool mills were built. They lived more countryside, so places like Hobberholme.
Wow, these are all
and then Hawes as well, and places like that. So
that's incredible. It's so funny you should be talking about that because my brother-in-law has started researching both sides of his and my sister's family tree, and he's doing it through like Ancestry.com. But he's had way more success with sort of mine and my dad's lineage through so me, my dad, my grandfather, my great, and so on. That's where he's kind of found the clearest line. So he's not had a right lot on his side, but he was sat with us on Boxing Day showing us what he's found, and he's taken like sort of my direct line patriarchally up to very early 1800s and discovered that my great-great-great-grandfather was in fact from Norfolk. And then he moved up to be with my great-great-great-grandmother, who was a dressmaker from Bingley. And
you get a lot of women being dressmakers,
when we moved through, So then it was fascinating, but it was so strange to see the name written back. And so my great-great-great-grandfather was a man called Charles Crook, and he was from somewhere in Norfolk, and that's when he moved up to.
Well, I managed to find the Illingworth name hit a blank in around at the same time, early 1800s. But off that some of the other people that were related, I managed to get back to like the 1600s and the 1500s, and links to the founding of the Quaker religion.
Bloody hell, that's fascinating.
In as it spread in England, and one of my, it appears it's harder to establish if they're definitely related to you at that stage. And like the certainty of it becomes a little bit more questionable. And it was easier with my Illingworth family because they were Protestants, but my grandma's family, the Ainsworths, very Catholics, and the people that came into that family from different angles, all Catholics. My grandma's family, literally, if I draw a box from the sort of Fylde coast from, Lytham, well, from the Ribble estuary up to the Wyre estuary, so from Lytham to Fleetwood, went in and like stopped my line when you get to the Forest of Bowland, so you get to like Beacon Fell, and across there, everyone was born there. Right, okay. It's ridiculous, like how much we are a mountainous folk. Was the 100 that it all was back then. But anyway, all interesting stuff.
Yeah, no, it is fascinating. So that brings us to the end of AskSLP and our festive episode. It's certainly a record breaker in terms of it being the biggest AskSLP we've done, and in terms of the contributions that we've had from all our wonderful listeners. Mark, you and I are going to be back early in the new year, aren't we? Generally, we're talking about late January?
Yeah, probably
late January for
last week of January.
Last week in January for season previews and things like that, and then we'll
probably get some rolling for getting predictions in and that sort of stuff mid-January or early Jan. Yeah. When I'm off around my birthday is normally when I have a bit of time to get stuff up. Yeah.
There you go. But until then, that is the last SLP for 2016. It's been a massive year for the show in terms of our growth and the people that we've had involved and the things that we've all done together. We are so tremendously grateful and love you for your involvement and for your continued listenership, and we're looking forward to coming back for Season 4 of the Super League pod in early January 2017.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to everyone and a Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas indeed. Bye for now. Okay, so quite rightly you've made the decision to listen to the very end of the music in hopes that there would be an SLP Easter egg attached to our festive episode, and there absolutely is, but we're prefacing it because we're going to do a bit more RL TV show stuff. So
kids TV shows.
RL kids TV shows, although to be fair, in fact none of mine are kids TV shows, they're just TV shows.
Well, it's not unlike you to miss the premise.
Or to forget what we did 18 months ago. Yeah, it's a miracle I remember doing this much. But what we are doing is interceding now and saying, if you're easily offended, or if you recall it from last time, this might not be your bag. So rather than do it and have it take you by surprise, and then
you get upset with us,
inadvertently have you become upset with us, we're warning you now. If, however, you feel like you might have a similar sense of humour to us and want to check it out, then we're going to have a bit of fun and do some RL Kids TV shows. You've been warned. So, Mark, Rugby League Kids TV shows, or TV shows as they were. Now, we're going to stick the original bit at the end. You've done some funky editing, haven't you? And
I've chopped the bits out from last time around. So I don't think I could have edited in the Dave Benson Phillips bit, mostly because it was just us two absolutely
cracking up, wasn't it?
Yeah. But I've come up with a few new ones.
Excellent. Well, so
I did listen back to the old ones as well.
I haven't heard
you haven't covered off any of the old ones because you've done non-kids TV shows. So
we broadened it out.
Yeah. So do you want to go first? And
let's go back and forth. Yeah. My first one was dead simple. It was based on a Channel 4 TV show that I watched. It was called 60 Days in Jail, starring Scott Moore.
The premise, if for those who are new to this, is usually it's some sort of pun in the title.
Yes.
And then the plot, either the plot of the original or a complete docu-soap kind of idea.
Exactly.
So my first one I'm going to go with. I'll read my introduction to it first.
Fantastic! Please do.
So this is 29 Acacia Road, and this is Eric, the schoolboy who leads an exciting double life. For when Eric wears lime green, an amazing transformation occurs. Eric is Rapana Man. Ever alert for the call to action.
That's fantastic. Good work. Well, you. Clever little thing. My next one's, there's no preamble to mine. It's just All Star Mr. and Mrs. with your hosts Justin Carney and Brett Ferris.